Have you heard of the pull technique in watercolour painting? Last week we created this using the wet on wet technique. The pull technique is perhaps not as obvious. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm using two brushes, an Escoda brush size 12 and an Escoda brush size 8. You don't need these specific brushes, but it's useful to have two. I'm using a turquoise colour from Winsor & Newton. I've had this colour for about 6 months or so and I've not used it, and I'm so glad I've used it for this project. So with the smaller brush, all we're going to do is take some paint and just pop a little bit of the paint down into the centre of the petal, and we're just going to put a little bit here like this, like I'm doing here, and then just grabbing some water on the bigger brush, and we're going to use that to pull the colour out. Don't add any more pigment. We're going to water this bit here. With the bigger brush, we're just going to add some water, and then this will help blend the colour when we pull it out in 1 second. So with the brush, take off the excess and then just pull the colour out like so. Adding that water in helps to blend the colour in, and then you don't get that. Sometimes you can get that streaky look, which is what we got when we were doing the wet on wet technique. With the pull technique and using the water this way, I seem to find that the colour blends much more nicely and easily on the paper. The paper is from Bao Hong, by the way, 100% cotton, and this one is cold pressed paper. But look how gorgeous this colour is. Not only that, look how easy it is to blend in and get that really nice soft gradient effect. I'm grabbing some more paint and we're going to work on this petal next. And I'm doing exactly the same thing. Put down a little bit of the pigment onto the centre of the petal, and then we will drag that out, or rather pull that out. Dragging sounds a bit horrific. We're going to pull that out in exactly the same way. It's just a really beginner friendly way to soften the edges, blend the colour in, and just create that really light and airy translucent effect. So occasionally you will see me just dabbing my brush onto this cloth here. The reason why I'm doing that is just so that I'm blotting the brush so that it's damp and not too wet, and it's nice using this tippy pointy bit as well. All I'm using here is clean water. There's no extra paint. Okay, so let's do that again with this petal. I wasn't meant to do this petal right next to the petals that I've already done, but it actually still works. So let's add some water to the petal. You can see that I've not cleaned my brush properly, but that's okay. That still works with the petals because it's all the same colour. And then I'm just gently pulling the pigment out into the lighter area. Let the water do the work. Don't overdo it by scrubbing, because this is how you get that soft watercolour bleed and those really nice edges. And then just soften that edge. Because you've got water on there already, it will soften so beautifully. I'm Shanaz, by the way. Welcome or welcome back. Thank you for being here. And I don't know if I've mentioned it already, but if you need this particular outline, it is on my Etsy shop, and I will leave you the link in the description box in case you do need that. Have a go at just drawing a petal or flowers yourself and try the pulling technique. You might not have actually heard of the pulling technique. Sometimes it's called watercolour lifting technique. I'm not quite sure why it's called lifting, because we're not actually removing the colour. We're pulling the colour out. We are dragging it. We are pulling the colour out. Like I've just said there, sometimes it's called the watercolour drag technique, watercolour spreading colour with water, or even watercolour bleed technique. But it's definitely a soft edge technique. It definitely works for creating softer edges if you're not very good with doing that. I think this is actually easier compared to the wet on wet technique in one sense. Let me know your thoughts on that. Leave me a comment and let me know if it is something you've heard of. Is it something you'll try and give it a go? With this petal, I feel like I've added on too much pigment. So I'm just going to rinse my brush, give it a dab on the cloth, and we are lifting it ever so slightly. This is how I understand the lifting technique is. I've just done that just to show you that you can still achieve this look with the lifting technique, and I needed to do that with this particular petal, and now it's nice and light, or lighter than what it was before. That's the difference I feel like is in between the lifting technique and the pull technique. So I'm going to leave this petal for the moment and work on this one because that's not touching any of the other petals. And we're just going to repeat that process with each of these petals and create exactly the same effect as we've just done in the last flower. So this template is the second one that I'm doing in this little series. The first one was last week where I did the pink one, the pink wet on wet technique. This one I wanted to show you the pull-in technique and also still use the same template. I've got something completely different for next week's final project. I've accidentally just done the petal I wasn't supposed to do, so I'll carry on with it, but I will just be careful not to touch the petal on the other flower. And then when you're happy with that, leave it to dry for about 10-15 minutes or so. This colour is Indigo. It's still from Winsor & Newton. It's still a really gorgeous colour as well. It's very similar to Payne's Grey, I think. It's quite a dark blue as well. And all we're going to work on next is the centre of the pattern, the pollen, the centre of the flower, and just work on that. It's amazing how a few little dots just completely transform the flowers and definitely start to bring them to life. We'll add some details on as well in a moment. Let's just have a quick look at last week's flower, and we've got these veins which are just really thin lines, and all we're going to do is just do the same thing on those. So I will speed this bit up because it is exactly the same thing or very similar to what we did last week. And if you did miss that, like I say, check out the description box and you can check that out. So I will speed this bit up. I did also use the same indigo colour just to go around the edges of the petal and create some shadows, create some value. And also I did do a tiny bit of splatter. I couldn't help it on this one. I didn't do any on the last one. I just had to add a tiny bit of splatter. Once you've finished, make sure you sign it. Do you like the wet on wet technique or do you like the pull in colour technique? Do you like the pink one or the blue one?